I think what is important was that for this event, one had to take a business approach rather than a technology approach. The really thing that was very important, we knew what the end goal is all about. So you had to make sure that, you know, in your budget, you apportion it and you allocate it such that it should be able to, you know, to obtain the end goal. I think the reality is it wasn't much of a problem worrying about the capability, the technology capability. Technology is technology. And the reality is sometimes we forget that South Africa has got the technology capability. So we're not really coming from behind. But the key thing was just to make sure that the technology, we link it to the business sense and integrate it and make sure that it delivers what is required.
Let's talk about that integration. Your work involved a lot of cooperation, a huge amount of cooperation with Telkom.
Yes.
How did that take place, and how did you make sure that there was an integrated platform in order to broadcast all the games during the World Cup?
All right. The one point that was very important was to make sure that you have a common forum where you can get together. I mean, besides Telkom, you had other parties like Centec, the Department of Communication, the host broadcasters, and Match IT. So all those parties were involved in the delivery. And what was important was to make sure that you have a forum where you get together. So I used to chair the National Telecoms Infrastructure Forum, which got together every quarter, but it had working groups which were always reporting back into that forum.
And in terms of the outcome of the World Cup, how did you make sure that all the global parties, I mean, you had FIFA to require their requirements in terms of the output.
Yes.
You had you're delivering broadcast in HD and 3D.
Yes.
How did you sort of manage those kinds of new challenges to the broadcast mix?
I think the first thing is, as I said earlier on, is one, you should be willing to learn, right? I mean, as I said, that technology is always, you know, what you're going to realize now is that most of the technology today runs on telco infrastructure. You know, broadcasting is no more broadcasting as it used to be in the past. All what you have to understand is that you have data. It really is data. And all what you needed was to make sure you have infrastructure. Now, we are trained as telco engineers, and there is a new requirement. All what was important was just to understand the people's requirements and make sure that you have the right capacity to be able to transmit the data that is there. I mean, whether it's 3D, whether it's HD, it just requires more, you know, more infrastructure and more capacity, and that's how we integrated it.
Speaking of people, I know there's an element of your rollout strategy that included hiring people that the industry would have said had not enough skills. And why did you take that strategy in terms of the World Cup?
Well, I took the strategy based on the fact that it was very important that once we finished the World Cup, it's one thing to feel good about we delivered the World Cup, but what kind of legacy are we going to leave? I mean, much as I'm experienced in the industry, there's a lot that I've learned. You know, I'd never done broadcasting, you know, in some of the media, you know, media IT, but I had a lot to learn. And really, it was also important to make sure that along the food chain, so to say, that other people are being brought in to learn. And the reality is these are the people who are going to take us into the future. So it was very important in that sense to leave that legacy.